The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
Dinner with the King is back, episode number 35. I'm your host, Glenn Moore, joined here by WWE Hall of Famer. He is the sixth member of the Backstreet Boys, Jerry the King Lawler. Jerry, how are you?
I'm doing well, and I apologize for the fact that our travel schedule last week made it virtually impossible for us to meet up and hook up anywhere. You would not come out and meet me in Las Vegas to do the podcast from Las Vegas.
No,
and
I was not invited, King.
Well, you're always invited, Glenn. Anywhere I go, just as you have a standing invite. But you know, this week is our birthday week in our household here. Lauren's son Peyton, his birthday is on the 24th. And then my birthday is on November 29th, and Lauren's birthday is November 30th. So we've created this sort of a tradition that every year on our birthdays we've been going out to Vegas and catching some show. And so this particular year, the show that Lauren just was dying to see was the Backstreet Boys. And so we had to go like a week early to catch them in concert there at Planet Hollywood, and that's where we were last week. We couldn't hook up to do the podcast because we were watching the Backstreet Boys.
You sound so thrilled for that, King.
Well, you know what? I'll be perfectly honest with you. I was not a big. I'm not gonna say I wasn't a Backstreet Boy fan, but that was just not my era when I was really into music that much. You know, I knew of them and knew they were a big deal with the young ladies at the time, like the typical like NSYNC and Boys to Men and all of those boy groups, boy bands. And so that was the time that Lauren, though, when the Backstreet Boys were really red hot, that was the time when Lauren, of all the groups, NSYNC and all of them, Boys to Men and who else? What other boy bands were there?
98 Degrees was another one.
Yeah.
Jeez. There
were a lot of.
There was a lot of them, but I'm sorry. This was my teenage years, so I was more of an NSYNC guy. But I had a Backstreet Boys CD because that was the thing, and if you learned the songs, you were good with the ladies because the ladies loved the Backstreet Boys.
Exactly. So, and that was the reason for the trip, because Lauren loved the Backstreet Boys. So to appease her and to make her happy, and for a special birthday surprise, took her to Vegas, and we went and saw the Backstreet Boys in concert. And the great thing was, we got to meet them and get pictures with them and all of that kind of stuff, which turned out to be really cool. And then of course you saw Kevin, one of them retweeted the picture of us, and so it was kind of neat. And Lauren posted her pictures with them, and then the Backstreet Boys liked her pictures, and so it was a fun show. And I got to admit, I mean, not knowing that much about them or being a fan from the original back in the day, it was a really, really good show. I mean, much better than I expected. I was sort of just going along because it was something that Lauren was going to really enjoy, and I was just going to kind of put up with it, so to speak. But I really enjoyed the show. It was a pretty amazing, actually. These guys, we've been to a lot of the Las Vegas shows out there, Britney and J-Lo and different ones. And anytime you're in Vegas and you're doing a show, it's a huge production, and as was the Backstreet Boys. And I was actually impressed by the fact that there's Lauren coming over here talking about the Backstreet Boys. Yes, we are, Lauren. But I was impressed with the amount of work that must have gone into getting ready to do this show. I mean, it was so choreographed and so many dance. Had all these other dancers and all these moves and stuff. And I'm about a third of the way through it. I'm thinking, Lord, how do they remember all this stuff? How do they learn all of these moves and everything? But and they did lip sync. They sang all their songs, and the voices were great. It was really an impressive show. I enjoyed it.
Well, it is Thanksgiving week. And
it is Thanksgiving.
Before we wrap the show up, we're going to give what we're thankful for both of us, King, before we wrap the show up. But it is Thanksgiving week, and this is coming out on a Wednesday. Do you know what a yearly tradition is for me? Every Wednesday night, the Thanksgiving Eve, King?
Thanksgiving Eve.
It involves a WWE superstar.
What?
Yeah. A man that you know very, very well.
No, I have absolutely no idea. What is it?
There is a festival that goes on in Cleveland every Thanksgiving Eve, and actually this is going to be the first year that is not happening, but I'll explain that. It's called Miz Fest. You ever heard of Miz Fest, King?
For real?
For real. You ever heard of Miz Fest? I'm sure.
I honestly can't say that I have.
Well, we all know The Miz, who is former WWE Intercontinental Champion. He lost the belt to Reigns on Monday Night Raw. But he is obviously a Cleveland native, born and raised here in Cleveland and Parma, Ohio. And every Thanksgiving Eve, he comes and he gets a party bus for about 20, 25 people.
I have heard about this.
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
And we go around Parma, then we go downtown to Cleveland. It's just basically all of us drinking and having fun and going and basically bar hopping. And I've been on like 5 of the past 6 years going with Mike and The Miz and his friends. And I think Dolph Ziggler sometimes joins us because he's from Cleveland.
Dolph almost joined us out in Vegas. Dolph was in Vegas at the same time Lauren and I were. He was there to see the Guns N' Roses concert. Ooh. Yeah, all kind of stuff going on in Vegas and everything. We didn't get to hook up. I mean, we went to talk back and forth a few times. The night before, he went to see an all-girl cover band of Guns N' Roses, and we weren't too interested in going to see that. And he wasn't too interested in going to see the Backstreet Boys, so we didn't ever connect out there. But so back to Miz Fest.
Yeah, Miz. So we go around. It's just basically drinking, and every year it gets more and more like less wild because we all get older and we're all not in our 20s anymore. But
that must be why I've never been invited, because it's all about drinking.
Drinking, basically.
That would be so out of place there.
Former Browns player Gary Barnidge has come on the trip. Other Browns players have come. Various WWE. We know Ryan Ward, one of the creative writers. He's from the Cleveland area. He's joined.
Saw him at Survivor Series.
Yeah, he's joined the bus. So the Miz is actually going to be in Europe, I think, for a media tour during Thanksgiving, and this will be the first year Miz Fest is not going to happen. I mean, this was going on way before.
I wonder if he's still going over there since he lost the title.
I talked to one of the guys. Well, I'll say his name. He's a big fan of yours, King. Scotty Monaco, who is the coordinator for the party bus, and he said no, it's not. No Miz Fest this year. A yearly tradition on a hiatus. So
wow.
I don't know what I'm going to do Wednesday evening, but Miz Fest is very popular thing here in Cleveland that happens every Thanksgiving Eve, but have to wait till next year.
Well, now, I mean, you would do this on the night before Thanksgiving. Then obviously, you would overindulge.
Oh yeah, I would. This is probably the only night of the year now that I actually feel.
So you would have
drinking.
You'd have a Thanksgiving hangover, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would. Yeah.
So it's safe to say that you would not get up in time to see the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade on TV?
I've never been a parade guy, so we usually eat at noon as a family. So I get up.
Well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's the way the parade works out. You eat, you watch the parade, and then while your mom or your wife is in there cooking, and then boom, at noon, Santa Claus arrives, and you go and sit down and eat your turkey.
Santa Claus?
Yeah, he's always at the end of Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
I haven't watched.
That's the only reason I ever watched the parade, because Santa Claus arrives at the end.
Well, we have football on. We keep football on because there's a lot of football games on Thanksgiving. Anyway,
I think it works out, though. I think Santa arrives before football starts.
Anyway, I'm sure people are really interested in the Thanksgiving parade, King.
Well, did I ever tell you my Thanksgiving Day Parade story?
I think you did on the podcast. Yeah, where
I did. Yeah, where Al Roker mispronounced my name.
Yeah.
Made me mad.
And then, we talked about that because then Roker came on. Was at WrestleMania. He introduced Cena and Bella and Miz and Maurice for that match at WrestleMania that you called.
I called and I did mention that Al at least got all their names right tonight, and then I also saw that made it on the Total Bellas show. they showed they showed the whole proposal and the match and highlights from the match, and that was part of the audio clip was me mentioning the fact that Al Roker got my name wrong at the Macy's parade.
So we'll talk about what we're thankful for before we wrap the show up. Let's get into the meat of the show. And
thankful for meat on Thanksgiving.
Definitely. But before we get into the turkey and all the fixings on Thursday, we are sitting here at Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company out here in Tennessee, and I'm going to be filling up on some sausage, on some brisket before I have turkey tomorrow for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, and we had that was our special this year too. You could order your entire Thanksgiving dinner here from King Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company. We were smoking turkeys for people that have ordered them, and all the fixings and everything that go with it. So you could have just come down or stay over and have your entire Thanksgiving dinner, catered here by the barbecue company.
Now
it's not barbecue turkey; it's smoked turkey.
Well, people have been talking about, hey, why don't you guys do a live show from either your bar and grill or the barbecue, the restaurant? And I think in the next month or two, we will be doing something like that. We'll be opening up the restaurant to wrestling fans to come in and watch/listen to a live recording of Dinner with the King.
Oh, it's so exciting.
Yeah, people. I mean, I think it is.
Well, you're gonna sit. You know what? I sometimes I get up early in the mornings after I take Peyton to school or whatever, and I come back and I'll sit and I'll watch these morning shows on like ESPN or whatever. The guys just sitting there talking, and we watch them, and and I think, can they do this? Is there something they could do that would make this a little more exciting? I just don't. I think people watching us do a podcast would be so boring.
Well, we would interact with them. They would be involved. They would be part of the.
Oh, they get to be on the podcast, a part of the podcast.
I mean, they could ask questions, and we'll cater. We're not going to be facing each other. We'll be facing the audience, talking to them, putting on a show, kind of like what JR does. I mean, JR has his live show in front of an audience. You think people want to, it's the same premise of it, King.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll be doing something like that.
And speaking of JR, he and I are going to be doing some live shows in 2018. We just finalized the deal the other day.
Ooh.
I'm on his podcast. I finally broke down and did JR's podcast.
How long was it, King?
Ooh, brutal. It was long. I mean, long. It reminded me of the time when I had Leon Spinks in the back of my car and I was driving him from Memphis to Evansville, Indiana. And he turned to his wife and said, "There's a long haul, ain't it, Betty?" And I said, "Yes, it is, Leon." And so anyway, it was a long podcast. Matter of fact, I think he's going to make two episodes out of it.
Well, we got to have JR in the podcast then, because now it opens up.
He said anytime. I was surprised. He said he'll do it anytime.
Well, of course. I mean, if you're on his, that's kind of like what the podcasting deal is. Hey, I'll come on yours if you come on mine. That's what happens. So we got to
then Stone Cold owes us an appearance, and Chris Jericho owes us an appearance.
Yeah. So then who else? Yeah, Stone Cold, Chris Jericho, and now JR.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would love to get JR on the show as like a live, not over the phone. I think it would do justice to have both of you on, all three of us in the same room talking.
Well, that's one of the you just want to be fanboy, but that's one of the things. That's one of the things that that JR and I talked about was the fact that we haven't done that. That's something that hasn't been done since we're doing shows together. So that would be kind of cool to do that, I guess.
And if you guys need, like I said, on the road, if you guys need an MC, I'm the man to be.
Well, and he is JR wants to come down to Memphis. He not only wants to try my barbecue, but he wants to do a book signing. He's traveling all over the country he's got his book Slobber Knocker is out there and it's doing really well. I think it's already in its third pressing or printing or however they refer to that. But that's a good thing. I think that means already it's sold 3 times more than they anticipated. So it's really doing good. And he wants to come down to Memphis and maybe do a book signing at it'd be natural to do it at the club down on Beale Street.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm your MC if you guys need an MC.
What does that stand for? Mental case?
Oh, Jesus. All right, King.
Jesus.
Come on, King. All right. Little tidbits before we get into the meat portion of the show.
More tips.
Speaking of Well, WrestleMania, obviously, you had your one match, King, but the place that where you had that match against Michael Cole is no longer standing. The Georgia Dome.
Blown up. Blown up, sir.
Blown up.
Yep.
They're trying to get rid of Michael Cole's memory of his only win. They're going to blow up the place.
Yeah, that's great. I looked on. I love Twitter, and of course I tweeted out, that this was the site of the biggest travesty in the history of wrestling was when my WrestleMania victory was overturned by the anonymous general manager, and all of a sudden all these people started in there that was the reason that the whole place was blown up. But you know what? It was amazing to me that place was only 25 years old.
It's amazing how the longevity of these ballparks and stadiums are. The shelf life is just getting shorter and shorter with technology advancing, quicker.
I don't know if I'd buy that. I think it's all about who can make more money out of the venue and the concessions and all of that sort of stuff.
Who can make the biggest stadium?
Yeah, and who can sell the most merch and concessions inside the stadium? That's the whole reason, they built here in Memphis. They built, they had the Coliseum, then they built this big pyramid. Some guy named Sidney Schlinker came to town and sold them on building the 6th largest pyramid on the face of the earth, is now in Memphis, Tennessee. And that's that was what for a long time our arena. And then suddenly I don't know if it was the thought of getting the Memphis Grizzlies, but anyway, somebody found out there could be more money made on concessions. Like I guess Sidney Schlinker had all the contracts in his name at the pyramid. So then they all of a sudden built FedEx Forum, and the pyramid became like the Georgia Dome. It was just useless, obsolete. But instead of tearing it down, they've turned it into a Bass Pro Shop. The world's largest Bass Pro Shop.
That's
is in
the
Memphis.
one place in Memphis that I have not gone to. Is the massive Bass Pro Shop downtown.
And it is massive. Trust me. I mean, you can go in there if you want to buy a fishing boat or something. You can go inside this pyramid, and they have like a lake inside there that you can actually try your boat out in the water, in water, and see what it's going to be like. That's how big this place is.
So I can buy a boat.
Enormous.
I can buy a boat and a truck to pull it.
Yes, you can.
That's a song, King.
I know it is. You can buy me a boat.
Speaking of some recent events, Survivor Series, you were there for the pre-show. It was you, Renee Young, the legend Shawn Michaels, and Peter Rosenblum.
Yeah,
he was on there too. He did toss you a softball for a promotion for Dinner with the King, and you just totally missed it.
Well, I didn't totally miss it.
No, you missed
I fouled it off. I got it like a second too late. And if you're a second late in there, you've missed the moment. You're right.
Kevin Dunn.
But yeah, he did. He tossed me a softball, and he mentioned Dinner with the King. He said, I would love to have Dinner with the King. I think he would love to be on the podcast.
Well, we're not going to have him on the podcast.
What, you don't like him?
Do you?
Well, I guess he's all right. We did have a little conversation with the fact. He said, "Oh, please keep mispronouncing my name." I think they used that on his show to introduce him. Now, me mispronouncing his name.
Yeah. So
what is his name anyway?
Rosenberg.
Then
And
what's the other guy? Sam what? Sam Walton.
Sam what? Sam Walton.
Walton. Yeah, he's the guy that owns Walmart.
Walmart guy. Sam Walton. No, he's not part of the Walton family. That's
okay.
saying,
What's his name? Sam Roberts.
Sam Roberts. He has his own wrestling podcast too. They all have wrestling podcasts.
And the other guy's name is Robert?
Who? What? Sam Roberts.
Rosenblum.
Rosenberg. Peter Rosenberg and Sam Roberts.
It is easy to get those two confused.
I mean,
or get their names all kind of mixed up.
They're easy to forget. How about that?
Oh no! Don't you see now? You're disparaging them. They're good guys.
They're fine. They're good guys. I've enjoyed. Well, of course, they're fans. They're fans of the product. They have to be knowledgeable. They're going to be on the show. Imagine if I was on that show, King.
That's why like during. Yeah, you're right. During the pre-show.
Whoa! What was that?
What?
No,
you're good on there because you're very knowledgeable. You know all this stuff, as opposed to like me and and Shawn the other day. At Survivor Series, we talked before we went out there, and he said, "How much do you know about what's going on right now?" And I said, "Well," he said, "Yeah, me too." And so he said, so we both agreed that when we were put on the spot, we would just talk about our past Survivor Series performances. So that's what we did. Well, if you notice, I kept bringing up the royal family and the Little Kings.
Little Kings. You did. We talk. Usually you and I do a little pre-show meeting via the phone the day before, just to talk about what we're going to talk about. And you mentioned how the company that you were watching the show with. Do you want to share who you're watching the show with?
Oh, after Survivor Series, I went back to
during the show.
I meant after Survivor Series kickoff show. Yeah. I went back into the not the locker room area because I dress as I've mentioned this before.
We all know
this goes all the way back to JR.
You have your own room. I know.
No, I don't have my own room. I really don't. I dress in the talent relations room of all places, and it's really one of the most awkward places to dress. But I don't have to I'll basically change my shirt, so it's not like I'm going to be running around naked in there or anything. So, but it goes all the way back to when JR was the head of talent relations. He and I would dress and that was his dressing room basically. And so I would just started hanging out in there. And then when JR left, Mark Carrano took over, and Mark and I are good friends. And so I just continued. That's like my place that I dress. So whenever the show was on the other night after the kickoff show, I went back into the talent relations room, and there's a lot of times there's nobody in there because Mark's out doing all kind of stuff with all the different talent during the show. And so there's a TV, a monitor to watch the show, and the spot came up to where just in this room there were 3 chairs in front of the monitor, and I was sitting in the one on the left-hand side, and in the middle, now to my right, sitting next to me was the Undertaker, and to his right, sitting next to him, was Kane.
Wow.
Glenn. Yeah, and so we were all just sitting there watching the show, talking about old times and stuff, and all of a sudden, past the doorway, the door happened to be open, and all of a sudden, we saw John Cena just walk past the door, and he glanced in, and then he just went on past, and then suddenly we see him backing up, and he just backed up, and he looked in at the 3 of us sitting there, and he said, "That's pretty cool," and then he just walked on by.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was kind of neat. It was pretty cool. And the thing I remember, Undertaker said, we witnessed the triple power bomb off the top rope by the Shield onto New Day, and to finally get the win, and Undertaker turned to me and said, "King, remember when just a simple fist drop off the second rope was good enough to beat anybody?" I said, "Yeah, those days are long gone."
Why was Taker there? I mean, I know he's from Texas, but he was just there to see people?
Yeah, I think just because he was from Texas, he kind of shows up every now and then. Looked good. He looked great.
Yeah. You think he's done?
I think he might have thought he looked too good, as a matter of fact, because everybody was, I think when you hang around or you show up and you look that good, they're in the WWE, they're ready for you to come back.
Is he going to come back, you think?
Well, I think he's going to make an appearance of some sort at the 25th anniversary of Raw.
Right. I'm talking about as in-ring performer.
You're not don't think about you're talking about in-ring, actually, a match.
Yeah.
I took a drink of my Diet Coke.
No,
but I think you asked me this before, and I think it was closer to the time after WrestleMania, and I think I said that I believe we've seen the last of Undertaker in the ring, and now I'm gonna recant. I'm gonna go back on my word. Just looking at him the other night, I think there's some more matches left in the Undertaker.
That'd be great. I think but the way he left was perfect too. That was a perfect. The ending of the, folding the jacket up with the hat and the gloves, and him leaving WrestleMania, him lowering through the stage. I mean, that was perfect. But
oh, you're right. It was a moment.
Yeah,
It was a moment, and it was a memory.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, it was not the wrapped up send off, with a tied up and with a bow on top. It wasn't stated that, hey, this is going to be the last time you're going to see the Undertaker. I think it was a moment in time that left you. It was almost like, to me, it was like the end of the Superman versus Batman movie. When Superman was dead, but then all of a sudden there at his grave there, the ground started rumbling and shaking a little bit, and it's like you just know, or you hope that somewhere down the line Superman's going to come back. And I feel the same way about the Undertaker.
It was like the end of Freddy versus Jason, where Jason cuts off Freddy's head.
What? You can't compare that to that.
It was like when Jason cut off Freddy's head, and then Jason's walking over Freddy's head, but then Freddy winks at you, so you know that his head's cut off, but he's still down the road. He's going to come back.
Yeah.
Come on, you're like Freddy Krueger and Jason Voorhees. They're good.
I love them. I love them, man. You know how much I love monsters. We had a whole show about monsters in wrestling.
Yeah, I know. But
that reminds me of watching last night on Monday Night Raw when Kurt Angle went into his son who had just been destroyed by Braun Strowman, and he's sitting there with no expression on his face, and he looked up at Kurt and said, "He is a monster among men." Did you see that?
I fell asleep during Raw.
Oh, please, come on, you did not.
I actually did.
But anyway, it was like I don't know. It was just such a corny statement to make right there at that point.
Yeah. Well, Survivor Series was I know you watched some of it, not the whole thing, but here's a question for you that a lot of people probably ask us and on Twitter and whatnot, and we try to make this a Asking Anything show, but I think it's just going to be a potpourri of topics since we missed last week. But why? A lot of fans want to see the new guys and the new young guys get quote unquote pushed to the moon. But Triple H is back, Kurt Angle is back. Goldberg came back and won a title. Brock Lesnar is a part-time guy, but he's holding a title. Is it relevant to push these quote unquote older guys and not hold the young guys back, but kind of just have them there, but not really be featured like they do with Triple H and Angle and Goldberg and etc. I mean, is that kind of, I don't know, kind of holding back the young generation, keep pushing these older guys, or is it good for now, or is it best for business now? I mean, why is it that Triple H needs to come back and wrestle every 5 or 6 months?
Well, because it's all about, as the term used to be, putting asses in the seats. And it takes these young guys. Yeah, a lot of people like to see them, especially mostly the people that like to see them are the younger people. They're the ones that are all over social media. And so the ones that are real vocal on social media, you think that that's the voice of the masses.
Yeah.
But you got to be careful, because sometimes that's the masses. You lose the M, and it's voice of. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that their voice is any less important than anybody else's. But I think that there is a large segment of wrestling fans out there who are not that active on social media, but they still want to go to shows and they still watch it and all of that sort of stuff. And those are the people that you need to that you have to appease as well to fill an arena or to get your ratings up there. These young guys it takes time to, in the business, as we say, get them over, to get the people to identify with them and want to pay money to come to see them or watch them. And it's just not, you can't, like the two girls that showed up with, Paige coming back. Paige comes back, and two girls that showed up. I didn't know them from a block punt. Did you?
I know the one from NXT. The other one I had no clue. I don't really watch NXT that much anymore.
Okay, but let me just say this: if you put what were their names?
Jeez, you put me on the spot.
Right, but okay. So let me just say, if you put on the marquee out front of the arena there in Houston, the Toyota Center, appearing tonight, and had those three girls' names, how many people you think would be beating the doors down to get in that arena?
Not much.
Right, exactly. But you got to have them on there. They got to get exposure now. But I mean, so that's why you got to have a guy like Triple H and guys like Kurt Angle and names like that that the fans have grown to love and admire over a period of time. You still have to have those people to get the people to come to see these events.
And Triple H, he took a beating from Braun Strowman, so it's not like Triple H is the one left standing at the end of a pay-per-view. He's putting over a younger guy in Braun Strowman who could be a big deal for many, many years to come.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That's what's best for business. That's what the business is all about. But I mean, a lot of people say, like you said, a lot of the younger people just think, oh, these guys should be put out to pasture. They're holding the young people back. They're not holding young people back. They're helping feature the young people. They're helping to get the young people over, and they're sacrificing themselves by doing that. And that's just one of the things that a lot of the fans that don't take the time to look at it as a business, they don't realize that a lot of the time.
How much does wins and losses matter in professional wrestling?
0.
Why is that?
Well, why does it?
Well, I mean, if you win more, obviously you're going to be competing for a championship, which means more money for yourself, right? If you're always a loser, that can't be good for you.
All right, then what you're saying there is, then you're trying to say that everything revolves around championships, and a lot of especially in the WWE, a lot of action and stuff does revolve around championships. But I think more so, it's the personality and the characters that get the fans to come to see the shows. You have to get personally invested and really like or really dislike somebody to spend your hard-earned money or spend your time, watching these people. And so I think that becomes more important than, I mean, look at guys like, hey, how did somebody like a James Ellsworth become relevant and become one of the stars of the show? I mean, he certainly didn't have an impressive win or loss record.
Right. He was
he had no wins.
Yeah. A unique presence.
Yes, and so that's what everybody in the WWE strives to be, a unique presence. And if you're not, you're just a middle of the road. You're just one of the pack, and that's not where you're going to be. And I mean, winning a match or losing a match is that's really irrelevant in the overall view of things. Hey, being champion, yeah, I mean that's stuff down the road that you can talk about. I mean, Ric Flair was 16-time world champion and that sort of stuff. But in the long run, that doesn't mean as much as when you say he's a jet riding, limousine riding, girl, all that stuff. It's Ric's personality meant so much more than his won and loss record. And I think it's that way with every wrestler.
So I'm taking obviously WWE is number one in professional wrestling in the world. So if you're going to be viewed as a successful wrestler, sports entertainer in the WWE, what is the number one factor? Is it money? Is it merch sales? Is it draw? Are those the most important factors, or is wrestling ability the most important factor?
Oh no, wrestling ability is not even on the list, I don't think.
Okay.
It's how who's over with the fans, who the fans care about the most. Mm-hmm. And by care about, I mean who do they like the most and who do they dislike the most?
Right.
You put those two guys, find out who those two guys are and put them against each other, boom, sell out.
Because you look at some of the all-time greats, Hulk Hogan, he was never a wrestler guy. He had 3 or 4 different kind of matches that he can do, and you basically said, okay, we're going to do match 1, 2, or 3 today. You choose, and And you look at Goldberg, who was massively over in the 90s, and all he did was a 30-second match with a spear and a jackhammer, and it was over. That's all. He wasn't a wrestler, quote unquote
Right.
wrestler. So I mean,
it's as you said earlier, it's a unique personality.
Also, that one of the things that really gets me is when someone loses a match, and they instantly think that person's being buried.
Oh yeah, that's short-sighted. That's fanboy stuff,
Because you look at like Brock Lesnar versus AJ Styles, two great guys. Lesnar is a draw. That's why he's still around. That's why he's a part-timer. And that's why he has a belt. It's because I'm sorry, you can't say belt anymore. He has a title.
Championship.
Why can't you say belt anymore, King? Why is that?
I know that is a very, not I say strict rule, but by the same token, I don't know why. It just somewhere one day Vince said, "Let's don't say belt. Let's." I think because he thinks that if you just call it the belt, it trivializes or lessens the impact of it being the championship. I think you can say championship belt, but a lot of the guys, and that's that's the ones that were told not to use the term. The guys themselves would say, hey, I want to win the belt. And I think Vince just in his mind, he said, hey, to the fans, that doesn't make it sound as important as it should sound. And it's just and little things. I remember when I first went to WWE, Vince corrected me on something that I had never thought. And I'd been in the business 20-something years and never thought about it. When we used to go from town to town, and that's the way it used to be referred to by the boys. Hey, what town are you in tonight? How'd that town do? And Vince came to me one time when I said a town. He said, hey, we don't refer to them as towns; they're cities. And only because, city sounded bigger than town. And it's just, that's just one of those little bitty, tiny nuances that makes Vince McMahon the success that he is. Just thinking about those little small details. And so that's, and then, it's something that some people may make fun of, but it's those small details that he pays attention to that when you look at the overall picture, it all makes sense,
A few years ago, someone leaked all these do's and do nots for announcers for WWE. Words to avoid: belt or strap. You can't say feud. You can't say war. You can't say performance. You can't say house show. You can't say backstage. You can't say pro wrestling. International, shot, aerobics, interesting, DQ, talent, me, I. You can't say U.S. You have to say United States. You can't say fans. You can't say Cena's fans. You can't say hospital. You got to say medical center. You can't say faction. You have to say group. There's little notes from Vince. Per Vince McMahon, going forward, we never want to use the term "the title is on the line." Please use, the title will be defended. These little, this is interesting how.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's his company. And if that's what he wants, that's what he expects people to do. And like I said, once again, he's a detail guy. And those are all to you and I and to the most fans, we think that they don't make a difference. But when you roll them all together, subconsciously, when you hear these things, done right or done the way Vince wants them to be done, it does make sense. And just like I said, when you call something a championship, it makes it sound more important than it's a belt.
Here's another note. Vince liked to reinforce that all announcers not to say the referee didn't see it when the referee didn't see illegal action. It makes the product feel cheap, like we're in grade school. It is okay to say the referee's vision was impaired or the referee's vision was blocked. There's a lot of different. You can't call blood, no cursing, obviously. Don't say Edge is busted open. Say Edge got his teeth knocked down his throat. Don't call the obvious. It's really interesting stuff here on this 4-page leak of. I'm sure Vince wasn't happy about this. But There's
Well,
there's
and
there's another
there
one.
was, well, let me just say this
yeah.
too, that is something that was put together by I don't know who, somebody obviously in the company that they compiled over a period of time, because there was never a list like you're reading that was given out by Vince to the commentators. Never. I mean, that was just certain little things. One of those things might have come up about, hey, from now on, guys, let's don't call it a belt. It's going to be a championship. It may, it sounds bigger, it's better that way. And then, maybe 2 or 3 months later, he might have come out and say, hey, don't say he's going to the hospital. Let's say he's gone to a medical facility or something like that. That's just something in Vince's mind that he thinks sounds more believable or more appropriate on the show. And so, but there was never an actual list that you're reading from now that was put out by Vince to the commentators. I can tell you that for sure. That's just a list that was compiled over. I mean, like the belt and the championship thing may have come up 5 years ago. I don't know, and then the medical facility and hospital difference may have come up 3 years ago. It's just things over time, and then somebody put all these things together and made a list out of them.
Well, I mean, it looks like obviously someone can just type these up, but it's a WWE announcing on camera notes and just a list. So there's never an actual list that was given to you.
I've never been given a list. No, ever.
No.
And I've been on more Raws than anybody, right?
That's almost 1,000, King.
There you go.
Have they figured out what you're going to do for? Are you going to be at Raw 25 years? You're going to be there?
Well, that was one of the things that JR and I talked about on his podcast. He feels 100% certain that we are, and probably calling a match or two, But nobody's contacted me specifically and says, hey, we want you to be at the 25th Raw yet. But they haven't written the show yet either, so they don't even know exactly what's they're just this. I don't want to say last minute, but hey, the WWE is really current. By that I mean, it's day of kind of stuff.
Didn't back in the day, I heard a story that Vince would plan out the year from WrestleMania, well, maybe the last 6 months leading up to WrestleMania, and write the show backwards from WrestleMania to where they're at now, and everything was basically planned out. It wasn't like anything was last minute.
I used to hear that as well, but I never heard it from Vince.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's just maybe rumor.
Would you say that like back in the Attitude Era, that was probably kind of more planned ahead, weeks ahead, more than it is today? In your eyes?
You know what? I swear I don't really think that they would plan that far ahead, simply because of, it's so injuries and just things that you don't expect to happen all the time. Just like in any sport, football or whatever, all of a sudden, you got your whole team centered around some guy that, boom, he gets his leg broken and he's out for the rest of the season. And, that could easily happen in wrestling. That's why I don't think that they would have these set in stone, matches that they book backwards for an entire year to build up to.
I was always curious because I know now the show changes up to the last second where the show goes on the air, the script. You guys running around and trying to get new scripts out. So I'm sure it's more chaos now than probably it was back then.
Well, it's become not necessarily chaos. It may be chaos to the writers or to the creative people or whatever, but the announcers I know have come to that's almost the norm now. It's no problem at all to go on the air without having your run sheets in front of you that tell you who's going to wrestle next or whatever is going to happen next. That's just something that it doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen, And I think that's good. I think that's that's just making it a spur of the moment show. It's live TV.
Yeah.
So, that was one of the things I always remember Vince saying, hey, it's live TV. Nothing can go wrong.
As an announcer, you and obviously you and JR have great chemistry, but and we got to get him on the show podcast. I'm not going to say that enough, but when it comes to maybe finishes of matches, did you not want to know what was going to happen? Did you want that organic reaction to what was transpiring?
Oh no, I never wanted to know, and still never ask or want to know, because I feel like, you know, I try to put myself in the mindset of when I'm calling a match, I'm just a fan, you know, and I'm into the match just like every fan that's watching hopefully is. And that's how I want my responses and my reactions to be. I've had so many times people tell me, "Oh my gosh, you said exactly what I was thinking," and that's because I'm thinking like a fan, and I'm saying what I think people are thinking out there that are watching, you know. And so it's to me much more. Oh gosh, I don't know, much more exciting, I guess would be the best word to say, is if my responses are genuinely surprising. If I am it just, and if you know what's going to happen, you'll never treat it the same as if your reaction is honest and sincere, you know. Right.
Yeah, because obviously you've called a lot of matches, a lot of iconic wrestling moments, and if you're going on that premise and then that state of mind thinking, I'm sure most of those were probably just was organic reactions to what was going on in front of you.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, and still, you know, still to this, like, just a lot of people have asked me, like the last match that I call it WrestleMania with John Cena and Nikki Bella against Miz and Maurice. I had no clue that John Cena was going to propose to her at the end of that match. And I've had so many people say, "Oh, everybody knew that," well, I didn't, and none of the announcers did, and I think that's one of the few things that nobody knew really for sure. I think a lot of people expected it, but I don't think anybody really knew for sure except John.
Did John wrestle with the ring in his pocket the whole time?
I don't know. I don't know where the ring came from.
That's like, did he wrestle with a ring in his cargo shorts the whole time?
Well, I mean, it would probably be pretty safe in there, you know. He's button down pockets and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, but you imagine wrestling King with a ring, a little, a holder for the ring in your pocket wrestling. That would be taking a bump, and you land on that.
Well, yeah, you're right. I don't know. I mean, you know what? That would be a kind of interesting thing to go back and watch that again, and see if somebody was holding the ring at ringside for him and handed it to him.
Maybe we can get Cena on the podcast.
I mean, you'd probably be able to tell if he reaches down in his pocket and there it is. So
yeah, but you're a ringside. You were right there.
I know, but I wasn't.
Best seat in the house.
Like I said, I wasn't expecting that, so I wasn't watching for that. He could have easily slipped his hand in his pocket without me catching it.
True. Well, speaking of an event that happened,
I was just watching Al Roker and make sure he didn't screw up anything else.
I'm going to pull the strap down.
Right.
Speaking of like a moment that happened that probably you weren't expecting, King. Speaking of with the Survivor Series themed show is the Montreal Screwjob. Now I know, Bret has talked about
that wasn't a Survivor Series, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, 20 years ago, a couple weeks ago, 20 years ago. Wow. It's been, yeah. So we all know what happened.
See, that's something that's that's something that the Montreal Screwjob, of course, has become world famous, and so it just kind of supersedes the fact that it happened at a Survivor Series event.
Yeah, we all know what happened. Obviously, Bret Hart was going to WCW, and Vince was scared that Bret was going to take the title of the WCW, so Bret didn't want to lose in his home country, so therefore Vince, quote unquote, screwed Bret, and Earl Hebner was involved, and Shawn put him in the sharpshooter. We all know what happened. I mean, it's been talked about for the last 20 years to on end. But King, you had a good seat for what was happening.
I was calling the match.
I'm sure that was one moment that you had no idea what was going to happen, or did you?
No, absolutely had no idea. And the most memorable thing that stands out in my mind, there are a few things that, to me, over my career that I just can't get that image out of my mind. But I was standing right next to Vince when after the decision was made and the bell was rang and everything, Bret Hart came over and he just went and hawked up this biggest loogie ever and spit it, and it went right into Vince's eye. And I almost barfed. It was like such a gross thing. Vince just reached up with it took 4 fingers to dig that thing out of his eye, and it was just like, ugh. I'll never forget that. And then, of course, I think then back in the dressing room a little bit after I saw Vince wiping that out of his eye, and I'm just like grossed out. And then the next time I saw Vince, he's coming down the hallway, and he'd been punched, and had been punched by Bret in the eye. Yeah. So it was I had no clue that any of that was going to happen.
What was just as a reaction of one of the guys, part of WWE, and this was going on, and the guys going to WCW, but this event kind of, we talked about Vince, being heel Mr. McMahon, and this is kind of the event that a lot of people think of. Well, this is what started, heel Mr. McMahon, after that. But just as a guy that was working for WWE, I mean, what was your view on what was going on at the time when this all was going down?
Honestly, I
didn't care. Did your job and went home, or did you not?
That was pretty much my situation.
Yeah,
I kind of did my job. I didn't hang around afterwards. I didn't talk to a lot of the people that was involved in that. I know that it became a bigger deal over the years. It's like the old saying, the older we get, the better we were. I mean, at the time, it was a big deal, but it has become legend, over time. That I think, that a lot of the guys said, wow, they screwed Bret, but then I think the way it was looked at was, well, it was almost better to do that than to have him jump ship and show up like happened with some of the championships with him with the title in another company. So it was almost accepted and understood by a lot of the guys after that.
Yeah, very. In Canada, I mean, Shawn Michaels would get major heat even years after that. Any shows in Canada.
Yeah,
and I remember even before, Bret went back to WWE, they would they would play his music, like faking like he was going to come out, and Shawn would start laughing, say, "I got you," and just getting. I have never heard that booing in the Canadian crowd for Shawn Michaels, and I'm sure even to today, he probably gets, even though they've kissed and made up, Bret and Shawn. I'm sure Shawn gets some kind of flack for that for the Montreal.
Oh, there are a lot of Canadians that will take that to their grave, that they will never forgive Shawn Michaels or Vince McMahon for that. And I'm not sure. You almost have to look back and see if that wasn't the beginning of the tradition that bad things would happen to you if you worked in the WWE whenever you wrestled in your hometown.
Yeah. Or even a Survivor Series. There seemed to be a little bit of a screw, not as big as the Montreal Screwjob, but little screw jobs along the way at Survivor Series. So it becomes expected that something screwy is going to happen at Survivor Series,
right?
Each and every year. So, but yeah, very interesting stuff for Survivor Series. Of course, you've had your match at Survivor Series with the little people. Is that what we call them? Little people.
Now they're called little people. Used to you could say midget, but now that offends some people. I don't know why.
That. And we during our show
you can say midget, but you can't. I mean, it's a word. Obviously, you can say it, but you can't. Like it's if you refer to somebody personally as a midget, I think somebody will be offended.
You mentioned one of the little people that was involved in that match passed away recently.
Well, you know what? It's been a year or so ago, but yeah, cheesy, little cheesy, is gone.
Jeez.
Did you say cheese or G's?
I said G. I didn't mean to say cheese. I said G's. That's sad. But yeah, Survivor Series, one of the big 4 pay-per-views. I thought it was a good show. and like the ending with Triple H and Angle facing off, and maybe we're gonna see Triple H and Angle.
You know what?
Off.
I think that I've gotten a lot of feedback. I think Survivor Series was surpassed most people's expectations for it. I thought it was a really, really good pay-per-view from start to finish.
Oh, here's a question. Here's a question I wanted to ask really quick before we get off of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Now I know they made up. They kissed and made up. They hugged it out. They quote unquote got over whatever the Montreal Screwjob was. Do you think that was for show, or did these two guys really bury the hatchet?
Man, that's a question that I can answer because you said, "Do you think?" Yeah. All I can give you is my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think that Shawn and Bret were ever close friends to begin with.
Right.
And so, I think that the hugging it out and all that sort of stuff was pretty much for show or for the camera's sake. But I think that a lot of I think that the old saying, time heals all wounds. And I think, after we had Bret on our show and in talking to Bret over the years and more recently, I think that Bret had let a lot of that stuff go, which is cool, which is good, because, that's the kind of stuff that can just eat on you and actually, I think affect your health if you let something like that just eat away at you over the years and everything. But I don't think that all of a sudden they became, once they said, hey, let's let bygones be bygones, I don't think it was a case where, hey, let's hang out next week. You come by my house or I'll come by. I don't think they ever had that relationship, and I don't think they ever do. I doubt they ever talk or anything like that, but it's not a situation where they hate each other anymore.
I don't remember the year when that hug happened, but here's what I think. This is my educated guess, so to speak. I think they went to him and said, hey, this will be great for a show. You guys hug it out, as on Raw or whatever it was on. You hug it out, act like, everything's buried. But in reality, they're not going to be exchanging Christmas cards.
Right. That's basically exactly what I just said. I think you're 100% right. But that's all good. I mean, that's the way it should be.
Right.
Water under the bridge now. When you look at it, that's one of those things, you say, hey, 20 years from now, nobody will even remember what happened. Well, in that case, 20 years from now, people do still remember, but it's best not to let it really get to you anymore.
Right. Before I wrap it up, I tweeted out Kamala was on life support. Do we have an update about good old Kamala?
Well, as a matter of fact, I called our good friend Jimmy Blaylock, who a lot of people around the Memphis area may know as Hollywood Jimmy. He managed on our Memphis wrestling show a lot, and he runs a little wrestling organization down in northern Mississippi, and he keeps up with these guys a lot. And I spoke with Hollywood Jimmy, and he had just spoken this morning with Kamala's wife. Kamala has a wife. Yeah. Right. There's news right there. But anyway, apparently he was in really bad shape. Kamala, of course, has this main problem, diabetes, and he's lost both of his legs to that. And apparently just recently it caused a big fluid buildup in his lungs and around his heart. And he was in bad shape. They actually had him on a life support system this past week, doing the breathing for him and that sort of thing. So, but apparently he's rallied a little bit. The medicine that they've given him is taking some of the fluid off. They're taking him off the breathing machine, and so he is doing a little bit better. But he's still, he's not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, but be taken off life support, it's a good thing, and not.
Yeah, usually that sounds like it's a bad thing. That's what I asked Jimmy this morning. I said, "What? They took him off life support? That doesn't mean they're letting him go." But then they took him off because he can now breathe on his own. They got that fluid away around his heart and his lungs and stuff. So
we hope he improves.
It's a good thing. Yeah, we do.
Definitely.
I wish him the best. Big name.
Big name. Yeah, the guy that you. I wouldn't say. Well,
I created. Yes, you can say it. I created.
I don't want to say invent or create. But yeah, A guy, yeah. So we love to have
James Harris, but I created Kamala. Yeah.
There is a guy that once his health gets back to what it should be. Love to have him come on the podcast too.
Yeah, he would. I'm sure he would do it.
Kamala. So we got to get Kamala on. We got to get JR, Stone Cold, and Chris Jericho on.
Hey, we got to get somebody on too to talk about. The other we mentioned this before, but it's big news now. I mean, I'm getting blown up about the fact that the
Kinky Boots.
No kinky boots. No.
Is that happening? Is that happening?
Actually, look, Lauren and I were lying in bed the other day and flipping through the channels, and boom, Kinky Boots, the movie, the old movie, Kinky Boots came on. And the more I watched it, the more I said, damn, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to be in that play.
How's the negotiations progressing with that?
Still waiting on them to get back to me about how long of a stint it would be and that sort of stuff if I accepted. I just no way I could go up there and do that for 6 or 8 straight weeks. I just can't do it.
Oh, that'd be great. All right. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
This past Friday, the premiere of Jim and Andy.
Yes.
The Great Beyond on Netflix. And man, I have been blown up about that. I mean, just everybody that has heard the stories over the years from me talking about how the relationship was and what it was like to work with Jim Carrey on making the movie Man on the Moon. They've heard the stories over here with me telling about how difficult that was and what he was like and all this. I mean, I just got one just 2 minutes ago here on my phone from Justin Zucker. Justin used to work for Playboy magazine up in Chicago at the headquarters there. And he said, just saw that Man on the Moon documentary. Man, you were not kidding about Jim. And it's just like, that's been the response. People see with this documentary what he was really like during those 80 days of shooting. And he was a handful, man.
If you want to listen to our episodes of Andy Kaufman and the whole feud with the King, you can go back and listen to episode number 6, number 7, number 9, number 10, and number 12. Those all number 13. Those all have they have segments devoted to the Kaufman versus Lawler feud. We spread them out through 4 episodes. But yeah. So there you go. Before we wrap it up,
those were the Kaufman versus Lawler feuds. But were they? Did we? I think we did. We talked about the Jim Carrey versus Lawler feud.
Yes, that was inside one of those episodes. I think that was.
Excuse me. And I remember also in this documentary, he talks about the fact that he talks about something that I had completely forgotten about. Was after we finished wrapping the movie, and after we did the last scenes we shot were in New York, and it was the stuff with David Letterman where I slapped Jim Carrey and Paul Schaefer and all those guys were there, and so that was the last thing we filmed together. And that day he invited me to dinner, and this was like this was going to be so cool because he he was going to be out of character. He was through being Andy Kaufman, so I was going to get to go to dinner. And after all of this bad blood between he and I on the filming of the movie, we were going to go out to eat together and sit and talk about all of this stuff. And so he told me this big, nice restaurant to meet him at there in New York City. And I guess I'd put this out of my, but anyway, I went and he stood me up.
What?
Yeah, he didn't show up. And he talks about that in this documentary. And I didn't realize at the time that he did it intentionally. I didn't know that until I saw this documentary now. So he was even more of a jerk than I thought he was.
Jesus.
Yeah.
God, having dinner with the King, and Jim Carrey says, F that.
Yeah, I'm stand him up.
F that. Could have gotten a free meal.
Huh?
I said he couldn't have got, well, I mean, he probably would have paid since he's winning.
I was expecting him to pay for it. That's why I was really mad.
Anything else you want to? Well, this week you're going to be wrestling George South at WrestleCade.
Who?
George South.
Is he still alive?
He's still alive. He's still kicking, buddy. You're going to be facing off 1-on-1 at the WrestleCade.
You told me that you heard an interview that he made about me. Is there any way we could hear that?
Yeah. Let me look it up really quick.
I've not heard it, but yeah, you're right. WrestleCade is is this Saturday. I'm going to be there this Saturday. It's in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and I'm going to be doing a couple of appearances. I'm going to be signing and taking pictures of everybody, and then wrestling George South.
Yeah. So here's the promo.
Do you know who George South is?
I do not know who George South is. You know me. I'm a big wrestling fan, a fanboy. I know you like to call me a fanboy, but
well, I think George South was a big name in the Carolinas. He never ventured out of the Carolinas that much.
Yeah.
And so it's like now that I'm coming over there, I hear that he claims to be big buddies with Ric Flair, and he's like defending the honor of Ric Flair. So I don't know. What can we hear what George South had to say about this match?
Here we go.
I've heard that Jerry the King Lawler is coming to this town, Ric Flair country. This ain't Memphis, Tennessee, and I ain't Andy Kaufman. Jerry Lawler, listen to me. Once and for all, I'm going to take that crown, and I'm going to cram it down your throat. They ain't going to be a pile driver. It's illegal in the WrestleCade promotion. Jerry the King Lawler, you're coming here. I just talked to Ric Flair, and I told him just lay back. I'm going to take care of you, King, once and for all. WrestleCade Super Show.
Okay. So any
there it is. Man, that's an old school wrestling promo, isn't it?
Yeah, dropping
Let me tell you something, Jerry Lawler. Let me tell you something, George South.
dropping Ric Flair's name twice.
Yeah, Ric Flair, Andy Kaufman. He got everybody he knew in there. Didn't he?
Yeah. So any retort to this?
Well, nah, not really.
No retort. No. Wow. No promo back from the King, huh? Just gonna go there, pull the strap down, pile driver. See you later.
Yeah, unless pile driver. He says pile driver is illegal.
Eat. Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say eat, sleep, pile driver, repeat.
Yeah, that's it.
There you go.
It's cool. So, also, I'm looking forward to being there. Somebody tweeted out that they had made up a special T-shirt. And, you know, they have "I'm a Heyman guy."
Yeah.
And this guy had seen this "I'm a Heyman guy" T-shirt, and he said, you know, Paul Heyman created the Beast, and he said Jim Cornette created the Midnight Express. Excuse me. But he said Sam Bass created the King, and he had this neat T-shirt that he has made up, and he's going to give it to me. It says, "I'm a Sam Bass guy."
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm going to be wearing that. I'm going to wear that into that match and show George South that I'm a Sam Bass guy, and I'm going to show him why everybody's been calling me the King for all of these years. I don't care where it's in North Carolina, his hometown. It's going to be like an old WWE tradition. Something bad is going to happen to George South in his hometown of the Carolinas, and I can't say hometown. I got to say home city, as we mentioned before. But
you got to get his
anyway, George South, I promise you, it's not going to be a pleasant night for you this Saturday.
Yeah, so WrestleCade, you'll be there, and if you see the King, if you listen to the podcast, let the King know that you like the podcast. You enjoy listening to the King each and every week. King, any final words?
Yeah, and I like for people to tweet about it. You know me; I've become obsessed with Twitter. I need like 5,000 more followers. So if you got followers, tell them to follow the King. It's at Jerry Lawler. I need 5,000 more to beat it. 1.4 million followers. That's pretty good, isn't
you
it?
Throw some followers my way, buddy.
I'm trying to.
No, you just retweet. You got to say, follow Glenn Moore right now.
You want me to tweet that out?
I'm more, not because I want followers, because I don't really care anymore, but more so of actually how many people will actually do that, like an experiment. Like,
okay.
Like how many more would actually listen to what you're saying?
All right, I'm going to send. Should I wait? I'm talking here. Should I wait till the podcast is out?
Well, you can do it whenever. You can do it
now.
now.
I'm going to send out a tweet that says,
"Okay,
do me a personal favor and follow at Glenn Moore." Right? Is that what it is?
At Glenn Moore CLE. You got my Twitter. You follow me.
Glenn. Yeah, I follow you, of course, but I don't always look at your.
So we'll see. So I'll look at my followers right now and see the exact amount. All right, we'll put this on record.
I mean, look at it. Pick your phone up there and tell me how many.
So I have 11,729 followers. All right.
11,729.
So that's the amount of followers. So now, when you put this tweet out, I want to keep track and see. The next week we'll come back and see how many exactly. Watch it be less.
People will have blocked you.
Blocked or unfollow me if they do.
Don't block Glenn now.
No.
Anyway, I have 1,393,421.
How many of
So
those?
I want to get up.
How many of those did you buy?
1.4 million. How do you buy? Can you buy followers?
People say you can, I guess.
I didn't know that. I might buy.
But no, if you buy followers, you got to follow them back. So I mean, you follow like 200 people. So
Yeah, no, I haven't bought any followers. Oh, I'm following. I don't even know how I got this many followers, or how many I followed. I'm following 385 people.
I know. I was like with the
10th. Isn't it funny when you see somebody like a Jim Carrey? I look at Jim Carrey and he's got like 12 million followers, and he follows one person.
Yeah.
So when I see that, do you think he's actually really tweeting that, or is he just got somebody that does it for him?
It's probably. I would say 90% of celebrities, they have someone tweeting for them or following them, people for them. They're not sitting there following.
What do you think, Donald Trump? Is he doing that himself, or is he just got somebody?
I think he does it himself.
Some crazy person out there tweeting.
I think the tweet goes through like a filter for a grammar check, probably. Well, some of his tweets aren't really grammar correct anyway. So I think he's just doing it himself. But people,
I tweet myself, and you tweet your own tweets, right?
Well, I'm not a big wig like Trump or Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh no, you're a big tweeter though. You tweet a lot.
Nah, I guess. All right, let's wrap the show up, King.
Okay.
They can follow you on Twitter at.
I like hanging out here at the restaurant.
Well, so do I, but we get an hour into the podcast, and you're looking at me, looking at the clock, and looking to pull the strap down on me for keeping you.
We got new commercials. A lot of people have talked about the commercial that we did for the restaurant and for the bar down on Beale Street. We've got commercials running in my new Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling show, which, by the way, this is going to be on this. Let's see, we've been on 2 Saturdays in a row. Now, this Sunday, we're going to be on Sunday at noon in Memphis. Ooh. CW 30, Channel 30, Jerry Lawler's Classic Memphis Wrestling, Bill Dundee's special guest. And then on December 2nd, we're going to tape the next show. We're going to have Dangerous Doug Gilbert on, and we're going to show a lot of the highlight clips of Eddie, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Now, King, we all know about Dangerous Doug Gilbert and that promo that he did back in the day. Do you remember that promo?
The promo that Doug Gilbert did?
Yeah, that Doug Gilbert did on you. Remember that? And he got in trouble. Remember?
People have talked to me about it. I don't really remember it. What did he say? Like get real personal and say some.
Yeah, about the incident back in '93, and then he said one of the guys was doing cocaine or meth. It was on live TV. Remember that?
No, I don't.
You don't remember that promo? Really? Come on.
No, I don't. Oh, my gosh. I've only been in the business 46 years, and I'm supposed to remember somebody else's promo that they did one day on TV?
I'm sure when it happened, you weren't really too big.
No, I don't. I swear I don't. That stuff don't bother me. I don't remember it.
Okay. Well,
I can't remember anything anybody said about me on a tweet. I mean, on a promo. No, and we're gonna have him on the show. I'll ask him about it when I get him on the
okay. Well, can I play it for you? Can I play the audio?
No,
for you?
I don't want it. No, I don't want you to play it for me. No.
Okay. All right, King. I won't play it for you.
Try not to. I don't want to be mad at the guy when I have him on the show. Got to try to get along with him for an hour.
I know. Well, if you want to stick around, I mean, do you want to go? I mean, this is your show, King. I mean, I have plenty of topics to talk about. I can go all day, but I'm sure
that people are tired of us. Listening to us flap our gums out here.
We never get any complaints about the length of the show. We never no tweets.
How many downloads did we get last week? Do you know? We didn't get any last week because we didn't do it. But what about like?
I mean, I could tell you this off the air. I don't like to release our download information on the air.
Is it in the thousands or something?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, we get. This is public fact. I mean, we are consistently in the top 150 for sports podcasts, and there's millions of podcasts out there.
Boy, that's the truth. Everybody has a podcast.
Yeah. So I mean, we are constantly, listed with Bruce Pritchard's show and Stone Cold and JR and Jericho. I mean, we are. It's always we're always leading, and then they lead, and then we overtake them. It's always back and forth. So.
Well, it's not like it's a podcast competition.
No, I mean everybody's listening. Everybody wants to listen. Can't listen if they don't like the show. They don't have to listen. There's nobody Nobody forcing people to listen,
Yeah.
So, but here, okay, well, this is one thing that I had in my back pocket.
You think any women listen to this?
I know a few. I know a few listen to the show.
But probably predominantly guys.
I would say 99% guys.
99%?
Out of all the, over, I think, 2.5 million downloads we've gotten for this show, which that's a fact. I would say 99% of those are definitely male. If there are females, though, you can email me at Glenmore, and you can send your number.
Yeah, we'd like to hear from any females that listen to this podcast.
But I have
Send me a tweet.
If you are, send the Dinner with King Twitter. Let us know you're listening. If you are a female listening to the show, we would really like to know. But we did a survey though, way back in the day, King, for our.
Back in the day, we've only done 30-something podcasts, haven't we?
Well, I mean, okay, yeah, you're right. But we did a survey. We put the link out for people to do our survey for the show, and it did list: are you a male or female? Okay, so this is based off of like 3,000 responses. 68% are male. 15% were female, and the rest didn't answer.
The rest was the other.
They're gender non-conforming is what it says. So 68% said they're male, 15% said they're female, 9%.
So Caitlyn Jenner must listen to the show somewhere.
9 says they're gender non-conforming or other, and then the other ones just skip the question. So we have 4% people who are president or vice president of a company. So I'm sure Vince is listening in, right? 31% of the people are single. 47% are living together with someone or married. 12% are divorced, and 11% are in a relationship.
What percent is living in their parents' basement?
Come on, King. 68% of the people do not have children. Let's see. When it comes to education.
Wait a minute. Where did this questionnaire come out?
Well, we put this out. Our call to action.
Who's we?
The show. This is what when we did a survey. I think it was just for mid-roll.
Say we, because I had nothing to do with that. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Well, we put it out. I'll play it for you.
Who came up with these questions?
The sponsorship people.
Are you a female?
35% of the people have some college education. 34,
how much? What percentage?
35. 34% have a bachelor's degree.
Whoa.
15% have a master's degree.
Whoa.
And 16% have a high school or GED education. Now, this also...
Some have a GED, some have an MBA, and 80% do not have a JOB.
Now, 10% of the people make over $150,000 a year.
10%.
16% make $150,000. 5% make under $10,000. 12% make $10,000 to $19,000. It's all pretty much 10%.
I cannot believe that you went into this much detail in these.
I didn't make the questions up.
This podcast. If I knew that I had to give my whole life's history to listen to this podcast, I would not do it.
There's even more questions like, what's the make of your car?
You're lying.
I am not. There's all the lists listed. The highest percentage is a Ford.
Honestly, tell me for real now.
I'm
I don't
for
even
real.
know if we're still on the air.
You're sitting here next to me.
Who came up with these? Who came up with these questions?
Mid-roll, our sponsorship people that do sponsors for the show. Ford is the leading car with 17% of the vote. So if people drive Ford.
I drive a Ford.
Well, there you go. See, I mean, people.
I do commercials for King Cotton Ford up in Covington, Tennessee.
People listen.
So anybody out there listening, if you need a new Ford, just go to King Cotton Ford, Covington, Tennessee. It's worth the drive, and you tell them that the King was talking about them on the air, and they'll give you a special kingly discount.
Oh, the King? You mean
on your next Ford?
The King of Kickball or the King of Wrestling?
The King of Wrestling, King of Kickball. Who said that?
That's thou shalt not be named on the show, Mister. The guy that you got to roll into the restaurant.
Oh, Kenny Bolin?
Oh, you can't say his name, King.
Oh, no.
He's
sorry.
Now he's going to be, I'm a Dinner with a King mentionee. People have iPhones. 51% of the people have iPhones. 32% have Androids. Let's see. Looking at more responses. There's more responses of just some other stuff, too.
Speaking of sponsors and all that sort of stuff.
Here's one.
What?
Here's a question. Here's an important question for you. How likely is it that you recommend this podcast to a friend? Now, there's 0 to 10.
Oh, gosh. On a scale of 1 to 10.
Scale 1 to 10.
Make them think. Let's see. Would it be, what's a 7 mean?
So high likely.
Probably would. I don't know.
High likely. So we have 0% for 0.
Why not just yes or no?
They want to know. They want to gauge. So we have 0% for 0, which is good. We have 1% for 1, 0% for 2, 1% for 3, 0 for 4, 5% for 5, 2%.
That means maybe not, right?
2% for 6, 5% for 7, 14% for 8.
Ooh.
15% for 9, and for 10 for people that, number 10 is the highest.
This is without a doubt. Without
a doubt, recommend it.
Recommend it, yeah.
57%.
You're kidding.
57%, yeah.
Oh my goodness, this word is getting out like wildfire. Hey, speaking of that, I'm supposed to mention too that in every podcast that I'm going on the Chris Jericho cruise next October of 2018.
Am I coming on? Am I coming?
Well, you may. That's one of the things I'm gonna do my podcast from the cruise.
Well, I gotta have me. I'm the co-host. Can't have the dinner with the king without. Well, I'm not the king,
and you need to follow Chris. You need to follow Chris Jericho on Twitter because you find out all the details about the cruise that's coming up. Or they even have a cruise Twitter handle. It's @Jericho_cruise. So follow that, and man, you'll just know all about it. That's it. This thing is shaping up to be a big deal. It's going to be fun.
Well, I'll play the ad spot right here.
Hey, this is Chris Jericho inviting you to the first ever rock and wrestling rager at sea. Picture this: rock and roll, wrestling, comedy, live podcasting, all on the open ocean from October 27th to the 31st, 2018, from Miami to Nassau. I'm bringing Hall of Fame wrestlers, some of the greatest rock and roll bands on the planet, and putting the first wrestling ring on a cruise ship ever. Don't be a stupid idiot. Make the list. Check us out at ChrisJerichoCruise.com.
All right, so there's your ad spot for your audio ad spot for Chris Jericho's cruise. Now back to the survey, King. How old are you? Here's the age breakdown. All right. Now, what demographic do you think is the highest percentage of people listening? What age do you think?
How far is it like a 10-year span?
Well, it's like 13 to 17, 18 to 24, 25 to 34, 35 to 44. 45 to 54, 55 to 64.
No, 35 to 44.
You are correct, King. 31%. 35 to 44. The next is 25 to 34 with 26%. And then 45 to 54 is 18%. We have 0 people listening, 0% for 65 and over. So that's
that shows it. Even I don't listen.
That's your age bracket, King. 1%, 13 to 17, 14% from 18 to 24.
That 1% of the ones living in the parents' basement, right?
I mean, they're 13 to 17. Where are they living?
In the parents' basement.
Okay, so
nothing wrong with that.
Here is the race. Do you want to know the race of the people listening to the show?
I guess.
Oh, geez. 91% are Caucasian.
Yeah.
And 3% African American. 3% Latino, 1% Asian, 1% Pacific Islander, and 1% Native American. Let's see.
That 1% Native American, who would that be?
Tatanka.
That was so unpolitically correct. That's wrong.
But isn't he
not
Native
really
American?
Native American? Is he?
Isn't he?
I thought he just played one on TV.
Oh, boy, now.
He may be. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Tonka.
He's a good guy. I like him and everything.
Yeah, he's a Native American.
But I do know.
Yeah, he's a Native American professional wrestler.
Jerry Briscoe.
His real name is Christopher Chavez.
Okay. Jerry Briscoe too.
He's Native American. I'm sure Jerry doesn't listen to the podcast.
What makes you so sure?
You think he does, Mr. McMahon?
McMahon.
Mr. McMahon.
He might. One of the original Stooges.
What is your job title? 0% of CEOs are listening to the podcast. 0.
There you go. So then Vince is not listening.
Or he did not take the survey. 4% are president or vice president. 45% are other. There's also consultant, 11%, coordinator, 13%, a manager, 19%. Does that mean Terry Francona is listening to the show? Manager?
Possibly.
A director.
And now Mickey Callaway.
Yeah.
Mickey's now the manager of the New York Mets.
Yes. Now you have a Mets hookup.
Yep. Hey, I just had a meeting with some financial advisors. This big wig with First Tennessee Bank a while ago. He listens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A big shot.
Well, that's all the survey questions that I have from there. But yeah.
Goodness. Thank goodness.
Yeah, 51% of the people would rate us a 10 to recommend.
You think George South listens to this podcast?
I don't think George South knows what a podcast is, King.
Good. So let's disparage him some more.
Now, King, this is I wanted to play this for you. We all know the fans of wrestling are very creative. They like to take things and repurpose them as something else. Somebody made a song about Jim Ross. Good old JR.
A song.
Right. Well, the song is taking Jim Ross sound bites and turning them into Jim Ross talking about his ass.
What?
And you're included.
Is it really clips of his voice?
It's his voice.
Or did they just read it?
No, it's Jim Ross's voice, and they have clips of your voice being used as well. Do you wanna hear the song, King?
Of course. How could I not want to hear that?
It's called Jim Ross, My Ass.
Wait. Is it going to make Jim mad? Uh-oh.
You know.
Well, do the quick disclaimer. We had nothing. JR, if you're listening, we had nothing to do with this whatsoever.
Yeah, I did not make this. This has been made like for 10 years. Yeah.
10 years?
Yeah, 10 years. This is like 10 years old. Yeah, so I did not make this at all. So
hopefully the person that made this is no longer living in the parents' basement. But go ahead. Let's hear it.
Here we go. This is Jim Ross, My Ass.
Time has arrived. We are broadcasting raw live from my ass. Boom, boom. I'd rather watch two old women slap my ass. That's as tough as a chunk of my ass. Here comes the biggest ass. The big man is back. Jim Ross, 350 pounds here. Say hello to my ass. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the greatest spectacle on earth, my ass. 30 men will enter my ass. You know what I mean. The most important thing to a tag team is my ass. I totally agree with you, JR. Here you go, King. Kiss my ass. I wish you would jump on top of me, JR. It disgusts me to see my ass. My daughter's nursery rhymes are more aggressive than this. I can't help but look at the butt, JR. What? This is making me sick. Is it over? No, not yet. Referee Earl Hebner is always in my ass. That's a little weird. Transmission. He's got a first-class ticket to my ass. Executioner. Here comes Maven. Raven. What? Jim Ross. Now, let's not give anyone some bad ideas. There's going to be plenty of turbulence in my ass. Booker T is an idiot. It's not the rock bottom. It's my ass. Are you serious?
Oh, my God.
The poison has now been injected into my ass. This is not right, King. The poison is not going to stop until they wipe my ass. I can think of about 7,000 or 8,000 things I'd rather have in my ass. I don't even care anymore. Look at the confident expression on my ass. The fat lady's singing now. He's only got one thing on his mind, and it's my ass. My granny is the most feared object of pain. Everyone, don't forget to visit myass.com for great WWE products. Oh, yeah. Didn't see that coming. It's about as effective as a one-legged man in my ass. like taking candy from a baby. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. I've known JR for 20 years, and he don't give a damn about the fans. He's a glory hound, and he just doesn't want to hang it up. He doesn't want to admit that his days are over. Oh, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka. Old school. The big man is back. Anyway, I have some news here for you. Kiss my ass, lousy bastard. That's all. Oh my God! Boom shakalaka, boom shakalaka, boom boom shakalaka, boom 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 shakalaka, boom 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 boom. Give it to him. Give it to him. Shakalaka. Jim Ross is every woman's dream and every man's nightmare. It's assault and battery. Oh yeah! Nothing can stop that Oklahoma stampede. Don't do it. Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka. Good old JR. Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka. Boom shakalaka.
Okay. All right. Oh my gosh, I'm crying. That was hilarious. I think even I don't know if JR's heard that, but I think even he would laugh at that. That is so funny.
There's a so there was
that. Can you imagine how much work went into that?
Finding all the clips, finding him say ass. Well, what could he fit with his ass?
That was so funny.
So there's
you gotta put that up or send that to me or something. I gotta have that.
Yeah, send it to JR. Do you think JR would be upset with that?
I don't know. I don't think he would be. I think he'll find that funny, and I think he will appreciate maybe the amount of time and effort that went into that. This was funny.
So so JR does know about the video. He does know about the song, and
so he's heard it.
He's heard it. He goes, "This is a comment from JR." He goes, "Yes, I have heard the new version of My Ass 2, which is what I played you." And he even encouraged this is JR speaking, even encouraged my football coaching friends at OU, Oklahoma, to check it out. Someone out there...
See? I knew he would like it.
Someone out there is taking a far amount of time on these projects, and I find them funny. As long as I don't ever have to sing or dance, the song will be A-OK. I consider it all in the spirit of fun.
Well, that's good, because that was funny. And I knew he would appreciate that. That was, I mean, golly, that took forever to put that together, to find all those clips and the music, the whole works. It was classic.
Yeah.
I was honored to be in there too a little bit.
Yeah, I've known JR for 20 years. He doesn't care about anybody.
Now, you know what? I do. What the heck did we do that for? Remember the time when JR turned bad and he was sitting out in front of me and Michael Cole?
Yeah, he was the manager for Dr. Death Steve Williams, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
And he wasn't being an announcer, but you guys are always, well, it wasn't like a real, but his microphone always messed up, and he was. There was one time where, JR, what do you think about that? His microphone kept cutting out. And you got pissed.
Well, but then I don't know why I would have made doing the thing about him being a glory hound of this. It was part of that. I think it was part of that deal, because that was like some clear audio. That wasn't just something recorded over the phone or something. That was a thing we did for a promo, I guess.
Yeah, I think that was like when Jim Ross was bad. I'm trying to find the clip. I think it was you, Vince, and JR, and Vince is introducing you, and your mic works, and Vince's mic works, and then JR's mic doesn't work, and you're like, JR, you want my mic? He goes, no, I don't want your mic. I want my mic to work. What's going on?
Oh,
that was terrific. Yeah, but then he would come out, and they would actually build a JR's own commentary table right in front of you guys.
Yes, I remember that.
Like they had saws, and they had
just listening to that song itself, it just is the passion, and it comes across in JR's voice, and that to me is lacking these days. He is so good at what he does. It's just that was a great song. It was so hilarious.
Yeah, anything with Triple H, back when Triple H was, well, he's still a bad guy, but like, oh, Triple H is going to rot in hell. He's going to rot in hell for what he did. Like, you don't hear that now. You just hear, oh my God. You hear this.
Well, I mean, and that's something I don't think you can necessarily blame the announcers for, because that's part of having to be so politically correct anymore. You can't.
But you can put some passion behind.
JR used to say, "That son of a bitch." I just don't think. I think they frown on that now. They're afraid that it will offend somebody.
But you can put some passion. You can put some bass in your voice when you're calling certain events that you want to really put some emphasize as a major event. You just can't say, "Oh my God," like, "Oh my God," like, who cares? Like, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, when JR he would lose his voice by the end of the night because he's screaming and yelling, and it really put over the realism of what I was seeing on TV.
Well, what can I tell you? That's why JR is the best.
Survivor Series had a 5-man booth.
Whew! I listened to some of that.
Five guys on the commentary table, because SmackDown and Raw, and Corey Graves plays both sides, so they had five guys, dude.
Yeah, and I knew that was going to be, or I felt like it was going to be a little tough. But to be perfectly honest with you, the part that I listened to, they didn't. I thought they handled it as well as could be expected with 5 guys out there, because ordinarily you think, oh my gosh, they're going to be stepping all over each other. They're going to be talking, just all 3 people going to be talking at the same. That's what I hate about shows like The View or The Talk or those shows where all of those people are sitting there talking at one time. I hate that, and that's what I was afraid that was going to happen with a 5-man booth, but it didn't. It was not that bad.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no rapport. There's no conflict between the voices. It's just guys talking. There's no meaning behind what they're saying when they can't interact.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I find, and they may like that now, but I mean, hey, JR has a distinctive voice, and I thought I had a distinctive voice, and Howard Cosell had a distinctive voice, and some of these certain people, and I think it's not that great when you have. Sometimes I have trouble distinguishing who's talking.
Yeah. With like Cole and God, who's the SmackDown guy? I'm sorry, what's his name?
Byron.
No, not Byron. The other, the lead. No, not Corey. The other. Jeez. You know what I'm talking about.
Something.
Tom Phillips.
Tom?
Yeah, Tom Phillips.
Yeah.
I was thinking
Look,
Todd.
Tom something.
I was thinking Todd Pettengill, but no, not Todd.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez, that's going way back.
But
no, I Corey Graves, who listens to the podcast, I love Corey. I think he would be great if he was unmuzzled. If he was allowed to say what I think, because I think he's like kind of like he's a guy that's good on his feet when it comes to being organic and saying little quips. But I feel like you're right. You got to be PG. You can't say certain things that maybe you want to say in your mind.
And I don't. Everybody says, what does PG mean?
It means you can't swear. You can't.
No, I mean, what are the initials? PG.
Parental guardian.
Parental guidance.
Parental guidance. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think everybody gets that wrong. I don't think they're PG. I think
WWE.
Yeah,
they are PG. It says on the TV before.
Well, yeah, but more than even more than being PG. I mean, PG means you can be risque and say some stuff like that. But then it's up to the parents to decide if that's okay for your kid to hear it. That's what that means. Parental guidance. So the parents should listen and decide whether they think this is okay for the kid. But I think what the WWE has become is PC. And it's what the whole world has become, politically correct.
Yeah.
And it's worrying about offending anybody.
No, I agree.
And that's what keeps you muzzled, so to speak. Do you
remember the meeting that Vince had with everybody about going PG way back in the day?
No.
You weren't there?
No.
No, some people have talked about it. The big wrestler meeting, and everybody's like, "Okay, we're going PG now. we're not doing what we've been doing. No blood, no all this, blah blah blah, no sexual innuendos."
I must have missed that. I must have missed the meeting.
You don't go to meetings anyway.
That's why I still get in trouble every time. Like when I do Raw Talk or something like that.
How you get in trouble?
Well, remember we talked about the thing I said about Nia Jax? I called her a big girl, and all of a sudden the media blew up and said, "Oh, he called Nia Jax fat," which I never did. I never said the word fat. I said she's a big girl. Mm-hmm. But like I said, anything you say now is going to offend somebody.
Yeah.
Harambe fans. Oh my gosh. We went wild over that because I called Scott Stanford. He's growing this shaggy looking beard, and I compared him to Harambe, which was a gorilla. And I said, "Oh, that's going to offend animal rights activists." I'm thinking, what the hell? You're worried about offending animal rights activists by comparing somebody's unshaven face to a gorilla? Come on, give me a break.
People are way too sensitive now, King.
Way too sensitive. And with all the social media, those sensitive people have a voice, and they can complain. And then, it's just, I don't know.
Did you know The Undertaker used to work at a Hooters?
Do what?
The Undertaker used to work at a Hooters.
Where did that come from?
I'm going over all the different wrestling tidbits of news.
Undertaker.
Okay,
used to work at a Hooters.
Okay, King. Here is a topic. Speaking of PC and whatnot.
Okay.
Are you sitting? You're sitting down. Okay, you're good.
Of course, look at me. I'm sitting down.
This is a topic I did want to chat with you about. Now, we all know in Hollywood, there's all these accusations about people sexually harassing people and all these sexual assaults. And 20 years ago, they're coming to light now. And Kevin Spacey is basically going to be blacklisted from Hollywood now. All these actors and producers and directors and whatnot. Do you think, and you've been around in business for 46 years, you've been a man of position of power, booking matches and territories, and been in WWE, the biggest professional wrestling, company out there. Would there ever be a scandal like that coming out of professional wrestling if people started talking?
Well, it's so crazy. It's like, I mean, this is just my view. The way it appears nowadays, but then they come back and say, other people give their views and everything. But it appears that eventually, anybody that's ever flirted with anybody or had any kind of sexual contact with anybody is all of a sudden you could potentially be a target in the future.
Right.
I mean, so.
But I'm saying more of the more serious accusations of, a woman waking up or even a guy waking up to an actor or actress, performing a sex act on them while they were sleeping. Something more serious than that. How is that funny?
Well, because I mean, and I thought about this the other day. I've seen. I've seen pictures in the past of wrestlers. Yeah. I'm not going to say who or whatever, but like this was a guy's, but as a joke, as a prank, like a wrestler falls asleep and then another guy comes over and says, "Look, take a picture of this," and he takes his genitals out and puts it near the guy's face. I mean, it's a prank. It's something done in jest, but hey, it's like a college kid prank. I've actually seen that done before. But, I mean, and at the time you're thinking this is totally harmless. But then all of a sudden, if 15 years later, that photograph shows up somewhere and it's going to offend somebody. Right. And that's the way the country has become, that everything that, 99% of the people may think is done in jest or whatever, and all of a sudden, but that 1% out there is going to be offended by it, and that 1% can speak up as loudly as the other 99% cannot. So,
but I'm talking about more serious accusations, King. I'm talking about actual, like, you know, sexual nature things going on where maybe a man or a woman in power was using their power to persuade someone to do something they didn't want to do.
I don't know. I don't know of anything. I've never heard of anything like that happening before.
Yeah.
But gosh, the times have just changed so much. Good grief. I mean, I remember the stuff, the commentary, and just things we would be able to get away with saying that nowadays their people's heads would explode. Can you imagine going out and saying, "Oh, get ready tonight, but we got a bra and panties match."
God,
that used to be a highlight of a show, bra and panties match.
What? I mean, people know you.
I remember one of my favorite lines was, "Panties aren't the greatest thing in the world, but they are next to it."
Jesus. I texted you. I watched the Raw, and I texted you and said, women should be obscene, not heard. I mean, that's the
obscene and not heard.
If Corey Graves said that in 2017, he would get fired immediately on the spot.
Yes.
And then here's the King saying this before going to break.
Right.
But no, I mean, everybody knows you, King. You know, the hardcore fans know you from your history in Memphis. You know, the King of Wrestling, all your feuds with the top stars throughout the years. But there's also people who know you strictly from the Attitude Era, from being the guy, you know, the commentary next to JR. But also, when people watch those Raws back on the network, they hear what women should be obscene, not heard. And people get offended, 20 years later, in what you're saying. And then people think that that's who Jerry the King Lawler really is in person. Does that bother you at all?
No, not at all. I really don't. Everybody, I mean, to a man or to a person really that ever talks to me about things that we did or said during the Attitude Era, they talk it with fondness. I mean, they loved it. They say, man, it'll never be that good again. So I don't know. It was just that at that time it didn't offend people. I don't know how the country and people's attitudes has changed so much over a short period of time that now those things are just taboo, But back during that time, I mean, that's all I hear about now. Oh my gosh, I used to love it when you'd commentate on a bra and panties match, or with the divas. And good grief, we've gone so far now you can't even refer to them as divas. The women have to be treated the same as the men, and I don't know. That's just the way times have changed.
Well, I mean, should women wrestlers be treated as the same as men wrestlers, or no?
I don't know. To me, it's just such a double standard when they come out and say, "Look, guys, don't say they're sexy. Don't say they're beautiful. They're strong. We've got to empower the women and all of this sort. And that's all well and good. But then don't come out there and wear a thing where you're showing your 2 inches of your butt cheeks.
Yeah.
And your boobs hanging out.
Well, that's good for athletic ability, right?
Yes. I don't know. I'm not a one to ask because my opinion would probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't want you being getting all the hate groups.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, it's just an interesting conversation because I see on Twitter, I have on my Twitter platform, I have all these different keywords, and for the show, Dinner with the King, I had Jerry Lawler at Jerry Lawler. So I see if people are tweeting, your name. I can see right now if people who aren't tweeting at you, King, but they're still tweeting about you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, people who tweet, oh, I'm watching an old Raw. I can't believe what Jerry Lawler is saying. He's such a sexist pig. It's like, do you not know that was a norm back in the day, and that he's playing a character on TV?
No, they don't get it. They don't get it.
Like people want to people want to make wrestling. I know wrestling wants to be real and the curtain, should be pulled. I know it's hard to do now, but then people want to say all this stuff about, comparing people to real life to their character. Like Kevin Owens is really a jerk, but he's just playing a really good bad guy character. Or Vince McMahon is, look at the way he did the Trish Stratus back in the Attitude Era. Vince McMahon is such a pig, but no, that's not the way he is. That's not who Vince McMahon is. That's not who you are.
But you know what? Here's the key term to that, Glenn. Perception is reality. And to those people that took the time to tweet that out about Vince or about me, we're, in their eyes, we are sexist pigs, and nothing's going to change that.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is. There's that small percentage of people who can't differentiate between a character and the real person.
Yeah. It's just I see this and I see all this, and I respond sometimes because I can't hold my tongue for that long because I consider you a friend, and when they say this stuff that's not true, and people are agreeing, it pisses me off because that's not the way it is. It's not the way that Jerry Lawler is not going around talking about puppies on a regular basis. I mean, unless you do, King. I mean, all the times I've hung out with you, you haven't done that. But I'm saying, it's just it's very frustrating as a wrestling fan seeing people can't find the line between reality and a TV show.
Right.
It's very. I think it's embarrassing for wrestling fans as a whole. People who can't, they can't check their fan card when reality needs to be talked about more than this commentator guy's talking about breasts when that was the norm back in the 90s.
Right. Well, it's funny in the fact that we in the business want fans to believe that fervently, if that's a word. We really do strive when you're playing. I mean, just like any movie star, when you're playing a role in a movie, when John Cena is playing the Marine, you want people that are sitting there watching that to believe that you really are a Marine, and to believe that your wife has really been abducted, and to believe that she's going to be killed if you don't save her. You want people to buy into that and believe it. And we, as wrestlers, whenever we're doing a show, we want the same thing. We want the fans that are watching that to believe. And then, well, some of them, like the ones that you're writing, if they believe that I am, that kind of person because I'm playing that character so well, it's almost a compliment to say, when they say, "Oh, this Jerry Lawler's this pig," it's almost a compliment to the fact that, hey, I played that character so well that this person can't differentiate the two. They can't tell whether I'm really that way or if that's just an act that I'm doing for the show. So it's tough. It's tough to draw a line in there. I mean, we as wrestlers and performers in that vein can, I don't know, we can't have it both ways either. And so, we have to accept the fact that, hey, if I think we have to look at it as if we really make people really, really hate us, if you're a bad guy, if you're playing that role as a bad guy, you ought to pat yourself on the back and say, hey, I'm doing my job. That's what I set out to do. Never forget Andy Kaufman telling me, man, I used to watch it as a kid, and I could tell that Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was really trying on purpose to make me hate him. And most people did hate him, but I thought that was cool. I liked that, and so he got it back in the day. It also affected his life and seeing that kind of thing. But some people get it and some people don't get it.
It's and like people say, why is Jerry Lawler on the pre-show? It's like you're going to educate yourself to see why a man that's been in the business for 46 years is on the pre-show for credibility for the show. I mean, if you're going to have Rosenberg and Renee Young, and I love Renee Young, and you're not going to have any wrestlers on the show. What good for the pre-show is there? I mean, why even have a pre-show if you're not going to have anybody who's competed in a ring?
Well, let me just say this: the person that writes why is Jerry Lawler on the pre-show is they're one of those 16 or 17 or 18-year-old kids that don't know anything about the history of wrestling. They're just living in the moment of the new kids on the block and the people that they see, and that's the only ones they care about right then, But people like me and Shawn Michaels are on the show to appeal to the masses, to appeal to all of the viewing audience. You're looking for an audience that is in the age range of 18 to 54. That's what they're looking for, because those are the people that will buy the network. Those kids, that person that's writing, why is Jerry Lawler on the pre-show? I guarantee you, they're not the ones that's shelling out the $9.99 a month. It's their parents, and their parents are old enough to where their parents don't care about all of these young people that they care about.
Yeah,
they'll care about me and Shawn Michaels. So hey, you're trying to please everyone. Put something on the pre-show or on the kickoff show that everyone can relate to. And you got Renee Young, the young people love her, and you got Pete Rosenblum or Bum or Berg or whatever his name is. You got Pete on there to appeal to younger people, and then you got me and Shawn Michaels that people that were watching back in the Attitude can relate to, and they'll listen to what we say. So,
no, I know it's just don't just say, ew, Jerry Lawler's on the pre-show. Give me a reason why. Just like, and these are people who have like 25 followers that no one cares.
Yeah, well, right. But they have a voice, and you saw it somehow,
Do you know the median age for professional wrestling fans, TV viewers in 2016? This is done by Forbes. This is legit. Also by the Sports Business Journal. Can you guess the median age for a pro wrestling TV viewer?
How much span is there in there?
Well, I'm not. Let's see. I'm just going by what Forbes
median
said.
age. So you want to say, is it like one particular age? One, like what I say, 25-year-old?
I mean, the median. It's like you take a line of data, and the age right in the middle is the median age.
Oh, okay. I'll say 27.
It's 54.
What?
Yeah. Pro wrestling TV viewers.
How many 100-year-old people are watching wrestling now?
20. Yeah. I believe that's the definition for median. I mean, I am a math nerd, and I'm pretty sure I
think
got
it's
it right.
in the middle. That means in the middle, I guess.
Yeah, it's the middle of a sorted numbers. So I mean,
I don't think that's right.
Well, this is going by Forbes reported this, and this is a Sports Business Journal reported. I'm just making sure I cover my bases. I don't want to be known as wrong, but yeah, professional wrestling, 54 years old now. Back in the year 2000, King, the median pro wrestling age for viewers was 28. So from 2000 to 2016, when this poll was conducted, it almost doubled in age. So that means, that just means people who watched in 2000 are watching in 2016, because adds 16 years to that. So fans are getting older, obviously, and still watching the product. But shouldn't they?
And the younger fans are not watching as much as they did back during the Attitude Era, and that's what I try to tell people a lot, and especially sponsors and really, I think people run the WWE lose sight of the fact that the largest segment of society that is alive on Earth today are the baby boomers, and those are the people that are 54 years old and older. And that's just because that was the biggest part of the population that's still alive. And those people, because I tell you, I'm one of them, those people don't feel like they're old. They don't want to be treated like they're old. They have the majority of money to spend on discretionary spending, and they will spend money. But the people, I think, that run companies nowadays look at that age group as, no, They're old, they're irrelevant, and they're out of touch, and they don't have any money, and they won't spend any money, and they're totally wrong. This just shows you that the people that were watching back during the Attitude Era are the ones that are still watching, and they're the age group that is totally ignored by the company, really. I mean, but what it shows you is, and that's why it shows you that, you know, they have to bring back a Triple H, and they have to bring back a Kurt Angle, they have to bring back a John Cena to get the attention. You know, that's the ones that this 54-year-old audience care about. They don't care yet about these young people because they haven't had time to get over yet.
But then why doesn't WWE cater to the majority audience of, you know, people like myself who would appreciate a product that, you know, has blood, more realistic storylines, more adult, you know, programming? Why cater to a small product that relies on their parents for paying everything?
Because it's the, you know, they think it's what the sponsors are. They think that's the audience that the sponsors are going after, and they want to please the sponsors and the stockholders and the shareholders. It's all about bottom line business and money. And hey, you know, they can't. Like I said, I guess they just turned out the most successful quarter in the history of the company.
Yeah.
So as long as they're doing that, then that's all they're going to worry about.
But also, you know, UFC, which is, you know, people physically fighting, their demographic is extremely younger than WWE, and they're very successful with sponsors and whatnot. They have a more graphic, you know, real fighting, you know, product, and they're doing fine. They make millions, billions of dollars every year. I think if the WWE went back to a more adult, you know, Attitude Era programming, I think you would see higher ratings. I think more sponsors would jump on board because the ratings would go up, and there'd be more money made.
Yeah, well,
but I don't think that would never happen. That's never going to happen, though. I don't.
And okay, so you answer your own question. Why is it never going to happen?
Well, but like you said, because they already have ingrained sponsors that they don't want to lose. They don't want to take the business decision of risking losing those sponsors just because you want to cater to a demographic.
Right. KFC is a, you know, big family friendly company, and they're heavily sponsoring WWE right now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, do you think all of a sudden, if the show's got guys out there bleeding and all of that sort of stuff and bra and panty matches and things like that, do you think KFC is going to want to associate themselves with that?
Well, do you think it doesn't matter as long as you're getting more eyes to your product? Like if the ratings go up, wouldn't that mean great for the KFC to see more eyes on what they're doing?
I can't answer that question. I don't know if I don't think it's looked at that way. I think it's one of those things to where, you know, everything's so politically correct these days that I think that the KFC people would say, well, you know, it may be people watching, but I just that offends me to see somebody bleeding out there. Let's go somewhere else.
Well, they don't want the backlash from the smaller voice of people disagreeing with WWE and saying, "Oh, boycott KFC because they sponsor WWE, which has bra and panty matches."
Yeah, that may be a part of it too. Why are we talking about this? We are not going to change the world of wrestling.
I just think it's an important discussion. I think a lot of people don't.
It's not an important discussion.
No, for some people, because I think people are holding out because they see an ambulance being crashed, you know, with Roman Reigns in it. You know, that's not very PG. So they see a hint of risque or Attitude Era kind of segments, and they hope for a complete change. So, but I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No,
personally.
It's not ever going to happen. It's not.
Do you think if once Vince hangs it up and Triple H takes over?
No, it will still not happen. I think it may become even more politically correct then.
So you think Vince fights for stuff that isn't politically correct over Triple H then? I mean, I'm not saying this as fact because
Why are you trying to put me on the spot like this?
I'm just
now?
asking a question. This is what we do the podcast for, asking questions. I'm not going to always give you softballs, King.
I don't know what goes on between those two.
I'm just giving your opinion. You're voicing your opinion.
Well, I think that even though now you'd have to say Triple H is definitely old school. I mean, he's been around forever too. But but I think that Vince is even more old school than Triple H is old school. So just because of the fact of longevity, just because he's been around the business longer. But who knows? I mean, Vince is, I don't know.
I know.
He's certainly one of the guys that spearheads everything that happens in the WWE. So the more politically correct it goes, that may be all Vince.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't know.
Well, and there's a lot of other factors. People don't always watch wrestling on TV. They watch it on YouTube. They watch it on Hulu. There's all these different avenues to watch wrestling now. So I don't think ratings are important, but I think subscriber numbers are more important with a network.
Oh yeah, with the network, without a doubt. I mean, that's going to be the way of the future, I believe. Is streaming video with everything. What did Disney do? I mean, Walt Disney Corporation just is pulling all of their stuff off, and they're going to go to their own streaming.
Do you think Raw and SmackDown would ever just be broadcast on the WWE network, like taking off USA and just have WWE broadcast streaming only on their network?
It could happen. Of course, it could happen.
Sure.
If you had how many people are watching on Monday Night Raw now on the USA Network? What, 3 million people on a Monday night?
They average around 3 million, yeah.
Well, how many subscribers does Netflix have on their stream video?
I almost probably, I know millions,
50 million, I think, something like 50 million. Well, can you imagine if the WWE, so if Netflix can do it, why can't WWE? So suppose WWE got their subscriber rate on the network to 50 million. Who needs the 3 million viewers on USA Network?
Yeah, but they're not going to get 50 million. I mean, they'll get. WWE Network doesn't even have 2 million people subscribed to it. And if it did go strictly to the network, I don't think you'll see a bump, but ultimately you're not going to get close to Netflix number. The content is different.
Maybe not. But that's a big difference. But suppose you got, I don't think 10 million is out of the question at all. Man, they just picked up TV in China and in India. That's all of a sudden it's available to 2 billion people.
Yeah, but that's been available in other countries. They started rolling it out to other countries, and they haven't really even seen a big bump that much. I'm trying to get the updated network number because I do these conference calls with Vince and the people. They have 1.5 million subscribers.
Okay.
This breaks down to 1.1 million domestic paid and 500,000 international. So they're only 500,000 international paid subscribers.
Right, and I think that is where I think that international number is going to really start growing. And it's taken a while, but I think that it will really start growing. And if that happens, the sky's the limit. Then you could eventually come to a day that you wouldn't need to be on. I don't know if the cable is considered broadcast TV either, but there come a day that they could be self-sufficient on the network.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who get it for free because they get that free month. So they had almost 2 million subscribers, but only 1.6 million paid, which is still.
I'll tell you what I'm so surprised. I think a lot of the the hesitancy about the network is I think we've not done a good enough job of of promoting how easy it is. You know, I mean, if Netflix has 45 or 50 million subscribers, I hear from wrestling fans. I don't think a lot of them don't understand how easy it is to get the network. I mean, you know, I have people that have Netflix and don't have the WWE network. They still go out and spend $55 on Survivor Series the other night, you know, to buy the pay-per-view. And I'm telling them, are you kidding me? You know, for a whole year, you get a whole year. I mean, for almost that same price, and you're spending that for one pay-per-view, and you could get you could get 24-hour programming on there. But I just think a better job needs to be done of it's almost like when, you know, where they really promote the network anymore is you're preaching to the choir. You're just getting to that percentage of people that already have it.
Yeah.
You know, I think they need to go out and do a big advertising campaign to sell the network other places than on the network or on USA.
You know, and for me, you know, I don't want this to be a network commercial, but I mean, if you don't have the network and you like the old school stuff, there's plenty of old school.
Oh yeah.
Not just Attitude Era, WCW, WWF, you know, stuff from WCCW to Mid-South to all these different, you know, eras of professional wrestling, not just WWF centric. There's hours and days of content that you could watch. And King, I find myself watching, I text you here and there about old school Raws. I watch the old pay-per-views and the old Raws more than I watch any of the current content. So I mean, that $10 a month, and I can watch any Raw I want, any SmackDown I want, any Nitro I want.
It's like the biggest bargain going. I mean, I'm always flabbergasted. I was just talking to somebody the other day when they told me, yeah, we're ordering the pay-per-view, and I went, because sometimes I forget that you can still do that. I'm just so used to the network sell. But then they said, yeah, I'm ordering the pay-per-view, and I said, how much is it? And they said like $54.99. I said, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? You know, it's I don't get it.
So
if they like it enough to spend $55 for one show, you know, how much is it to spend 32 cents a day to have 24 hours, 34 cents a day, I think it is, or something for the $9.99 a month to have 24-hour access to everything that WWE has ever done is on there.
Back when I was in high school, this is like late 90s, 98, 99.
You know, people have got to be really sick of listening to us by now.
Well, we'll wrap it up.
Finished your fries, and now we're going to tell a story back when you were in high school. But go ahead.
It's an interesting story. Well, come on, King.
Go ahead.
So back 98, 99 high school, this is how I watched pay-per-views, all right? I wasn't allowed, you know, my parents were not going to pay $30 for a WWF pay-per-view on TV. So we always had that rich friend who would get all the pay-per-views. His parents would buy him all the pay-per-views. So what he would do is he would tape the pay-per-view for me as he was watching it. And at school the next day, on a Monday, he would give me the VHS tape during school, and then I would go home, hurry up and watch the pay-per-view, and then watch Raw so I would know what happened. I mean, that's how I... So that's kind of like... That's kind of like sharing your Netflix password.
Yeah.
That's how I knew.
Times have changed.
Times have changed. But I think you're right. I think people are, you know, but we had some in-depth discussion about some good topics here on Dinner with the King. I think this is the more...
I saw a thing on the internet the other day and it said talking about how times have changed. It said, I remember when water used to be free and you had to pay for porn. And that was totally opposite, right?
No, yeah, you get any porn you want. I mean, you can still get water. Depends on how you get it, though.
Water sometimes is very expensive. Man, we flew on Frontier Airlines. They charge you when you're on Frontier Airlines if you want a glass of water on the flight.
Well, it's because the prices are so cheap, they charge you everything else, right?
Yeah, everything else.
Like even one extra piece of baggage, they charge you, right?
Yes.
Bag of peanuts, they charge you for too?
Yes, everything.
So what do? They swipe a card for $1 peanuts?
Yes, they absolutely do.
Wow.
They swipe a card for everything.
$1. Well, I'm sure the water was like $5.
I don't know. I didn't buy any. I was too cheap. I carried mine on.
Jesus. All right, King. Anything you wanted? I know we ran over time. I appreciate people listening. We know we talked about a large array of topics for this show. Anything you want to say to wrap up the show? WrestleCade this weekend.
I'm just looking at this thing on the internet that said Monday's WWE Raw ranked #1 among series and specials for the night in Nielsen's social media TV ratings.
Now, is that more important than actual TV ratings?
See, that's the way social media has become. It said Raw had 874,000 total interactions this week. 269,000 on Twitter and 605,000 on Facebook. Wow.
Yeah. So how they count that? Like hashtag Raw?
I don't know. It says, as noted, Nielsen recently changed the breakdown of the Twitter and Facebook stats for shows as they no longer release the number of unique interactions and authors, just the total number of interactions. Now I understand why WWE sends out so many tweets during the show.
Back in the Attitude Era, if Twitter was around, you know what would be trending? Hashtag suck it. Hashtag puppies. Hashtag kiss my ass club. All these different hashtags that probably would not fly today would be trending if Twitter was around.
Did you see some of the stuff about the little beef between Corey Graves and Vince Russo?
I did not see that.
Apparently, Vince Russo didn't like the way Corey Graves called the Jordan Strowman match, and he said Vince Russo sent out a tweet that said, "I guess announcers aren't that excited about Jordan Strowman. Total no sell. Hey, Corey, Pee Wee Herman called him, wants his suit back." And then he put hashtag tool. Ooh.
Here, I'm just reading it now. Former WWE writer Vince Russo criticized Monday Night Raw commentator Corey Graves.
Corey Graves answered that and said, "Wow, it's amazing that the driving force behind the Attitude Era relies on the same insults as my 9-year-old. Just shout me out for giving just shout me out for giving your podcast some traffic. You're a great Christian." What?
Well, I guess Vince Russo. I don't listen to what Vince Russo. I mean, I like Vince Russo. I don't watch his stuff. He follows me on Twitter for some reason. I have no clue why. But yeah, Vince Russo is another topic.
I think I asked him to.
Come on. Are you friends with Vince Russo?
Ask everybody to follow you on Twitter.
Did you do that yet? Did you do that? I'm not sure.
No, I didn't do it yet.
Did you? Are you friends with Vince Russo? Do you like Vince Russo?
I know Vince Russo, from back during the Attitude Era.
But do you like Vince Russo?
I don't dislike him, but I don't hang out with him. I never talk to him. I don't have any dealings with Vince Russo.
Was he the main reason why for the Attitude Era? Is he the man behind the Attitude Era, like he says he is?
I think he gives himself a little more credit than he deserves. But hey, he was a big part of it. Sure, he was he was the head writer then.
Yeah. Well, Corey Graves is a darling for WWE fans, so any attack on him is gonna rile up all the fans. So I'm sure Vince Russo is getting a lot of tweets. Yeah, and this is the first time I've seen this, but oh well. All right, King, we're gonna wrap this baby up. It's been a long show.
Like 2 hours, please, folks. Listen, we apologize.
Hold on, King. If people want to go back and listen, they can hear me say, "Hey, King, you want to wrap it up?" And you go, I like to stay around.
Well, some people, I know that some people listen to this podcast like on their way to work. I hope that nobody has a 2-hour commute on their way to work or on the way home.
The great thing is
this will do 4 or 5 trips.
Yeah, they can pause it and then come back when they want.
That is a great thing.
Yeah, they can pause it anytime, or they can continue it in their office. I mean, we have people listening all over the world from, like I said, I'm sure there's people in North Korea listening to the show. I think there is North Korea people listening in North Korea.
North Korea?
I want to say, here, let me check the stats.
You think Rocket Man listens?
What if the Rocket Man is a big Jerry the King Lawler fan? What if?
I know he's a big. What's his name? What's the basketball player fan? He's a fan of?
Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman, yeah. And Rodman, of course, is a big WWE guy.
Okay, I'm trying to find North Korea. All right, we got Russia. People listening in Russia for sure. There's over. Okay, this is over. How long is this over? Yeah, Russia is a very small percentage. China. Okay, we have 315 downloads only from South Korea. This is through the whole show, so we get barely any people listening in South Korea, and we have
315 people listening in South Korea. To me, that's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, that's not big to me. Okay, now guess how many people in North Korea are listening?
I don't think we have any listeners in North Korea.
We have had 0 listeners from North Korea.
Of course not. They probably can't even get the internet over there. Rocket Man does not allow internet in North Korea.
I'm sure there'll be one rogue American that Jerry Lawler fan over there listening.
Oh, no. No way.
United States, number 1. The United Kingdom, number 2. Canada, number 3. Australia, number 4. Ireland, number 5. Germany, number 6. India, number 7. New Zealand, number 8. And the Netherlands, number 10.
Wow.
So those are...
Netherlands.
Yes.
Big in the Netherlands.
The biggest state is California, New York, then Texas, then Tennessee, then Illinois, then Pennsylvania, then Florida, then Ohio, then Georgia. That rounds out the top 9 states listening to the show. All right, we're going to wrap it up. So we appreciate everybody listening. If you're going to WrestleCade, make sure to say hi to the King on Saturday.
Yeah,
Wrestling George South.
Follow me and Glenn on Twitter.
Follow Jerry on Twitter at Jerry Lawler. You can follow me at Glenn Moore CLE. Follow the show at Dinner with King. We're on Spotify now, King.
I heard that. That's good.
Yeah, we're on Spotify.
Lauren does everything on Spotify.
Yeah, so you just search in the podcast section of Spotify. You can mix in Jerry King Lawler's podcast with songs about Jerry Lawler, because there are some rap songs about Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, some real rap songs. I mean, not like a joke song.
No, they mentioned you. You know 3-6 Mafia?
Yeah, man, are you kidding? They won a Grammy.
Yeah, they're from Memphis, Tennessee, and they have included you in a couple of their songs.
And I heard one the other day. Somebody put up one on Twitter the other day. Said, "Fire in your face."
That was me. I posted it. I posted that on.
No, I thought it was somebody real important.
No, that was me. But
it was a real song that you found, right?
Yeah, Fire in the face, like Jerry Lawler. Yeah, that's an actual song. That someone I'm not sure if this guy is well known. I apologize if he is. I've never heard of him, and I'm kind of hip to the rap game. But 3-6 Mafia, man, that's a huge group. I love 3-6 Mafia. So, all right. Well, I think we're taking this table up way too long, Jerry. We're getting looks.
Oh, it looks like now Ryan Seacrest has been accused of.
How long before Jerry Lawler is accused?
Who knows? But somebody demanded $15 million for their silence on Ryan Seacrest.
Isn't that the moral of it? Okay, hey, I want $15 million, or I'm going to say something like that. Just sounds terrible. I mean, I'm not discrediting the person.
Well, not only that, I think that's extortion.
Yeah,
and I think that's a crime.
We have one person listening in Greenland.
Where's Greenland? Isn't that up there by the Netherlands or something?
Greenland is next to Iceland. But Iceland's green and Greenland's ice. We have 52 listeners in Ireland. No, in Iceland. Yeah, so we have Spain's up there, Portugal, Mexico, Canada, Brazil, India, Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah. Big in Saudi Arabia.
Iraq. We have Iraq listeners.
Good grief.
They're probably soldiers.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. That's true.
So we thank you for your service.
Yes, we do.
If you are a veteran or a person serving right currently, and you are listening in a foreign country, let us know on Twitter.
Yeah.
Tweet
if
at
you're
us.
somewhere overseas right now, just sitting there wishing you were back home, this thing has probably not been too long. It could go on forever. So hurry home.
Yeah. So we appreciate you guys listening overseas. I haven't thought about that. People, soldiers stationed who are big wrestling fans. I know
What
this.
about your man Charlie Rose? He just got fired from CBS because of sexual harassment allegations.
Well, how long before Vince McMahon is accused?
Nah.
Never? He's a good guy.
No.
He's a good guy, right?
He's a good guy. He's a married man. Happily married man.
How long before Kevin Dunn?
Happily married man.
I know. I'm choking on my older waffle fry.
Yeah, stop.
I'm trying to picture someone that I can see having some problems. Like I can't really see anybody in WWE having a problem like that.
Nah.
It's one big happy family, right? No? Yeah?
Paige is back.
I'm trying to wrap this up, King, and you just keep on bringing topics up. Paige is back.
She is.
That's great to see. She looks great.
Speaking of all that cool
She's
stuff.
my favorite.
I'll bet. And I'll bet I know why.
Why is that?
But anyway.
Why is that?
Let's go.
Why is that, King?
I don't know.
I wasn't the one caught looking at her butt on Live on Raw. Remember that?
Oh,
yeah.
That's so.
Yeah. And then she got caught looking at yours later on. People made a big deal about that, too.
Oh, gosh. They make a big deal about everything. Let's go. Goodbye.
We'll talk to you guys next week for the King's birthday episode.
What?
It's your birthday episode next week, King. We got a whole... This is your life, Jerry Lawler, next week on Dinner with the King.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.